Music lives on in a much stronger vein than many bands who have sort of outstayed their welcome. And of course I refer to Savage Garden. And one of the two is with us this morning. We welcome Darren Hayes. Good to see you, Darren.
Good to see you too.
Welcome, mate.
That's a great intro.
Make yourself comfortable.
I will.
It was only about 5 years, wasn't it, you guys?
Yeah, I think we've been apart longer than we were together now.
Yeah.
It's been almost 5 years since we called it a day.
Was it always going to be that way? Just, you know, get the music together, tickle the ivories for us, get us right into your music, and then all of a sudden...
That was the plan,
away.
yeah, but I usually apply that to most of my life. No. I honestly thought the band would go on forever at the time. And in fact, I think when we basically called it a day, I was terrified about the future. I had no idea how I was going to continue on, but obviously life does go on, and I'm happy today. But yeah, back then it was definitely difficult.
Let's go back. What were the reasons at the time?
You know, honestly, it was a decision of Daniel's, a personal decision of his, I guess, to and you know, I really support this. I think he didn't understand how significant the life changes would be, touring the world and being a public person, until he was one, and he really didn't suit him. So
did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did, but you know, my life is so much calmer these days. I don't know that I would wish to be as busy as we were, or even as successful as we were back then, because it was very consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing you have done, though, of course, I mean, you've forged a solo career for yourself,
Right.
and seemingly, I'm about to say seemingly without too much trouble, but I suppose it's the old story that a lot of work goes into that initial solo bit, but it's taken off for you. We're talking about what the next album you release is number 4, isn't it?
It'll be my 5th record. It'll be my 3rd solo album, but
Right.
yeah, it'll be my 5th, you know, 2 with Savage and 3,
So was it
3 on
hard?
my own. Yeah, starting again, yeah, absolutely. But you know, I always try to look at the glass as being full. I'm very lucky to, you know, I think that Savage Garden was such a phenomenal success, and it really took us by surprise that I get to make these records that I love today. And the music industry is so difficult these days. Had I not had this incredible beginning, I wouldn't be talking to you today. So I can't complain. Yes, it's difficult following on from something that's been tremendously successful, because people expect you to always be that.
Yeah.
But I can't complain. I love it.
On the new best of Savage Garden, there are a couple of solo tracks by yourself too, aren't there?
Yeah.
What have you chosen to put on the
There's a song called
album?
So Beautiful, which is the single, which I love. And it's interesting because often I'll catch myself writing a song and something will be to Savage Garden, and I think, no, well, I can't use that because... And when the best of came out, it just kind of made sense. And So Beautiful is one of those songs that just, to me, I guess I feel very protective of the legacy of the band, and I wouldn't have put any of my own solo material on a best of, because to me they're different entities, but this particular song I think really fits.
Is it lonely as against yeah, well I know the answer to that. It's even pretty rough at the edges, I've got to tell you. But you know,
outer rim here.
You've got something to share with somebody else, but all of a sudden, I mean, even though you're co-writing, certainly with one of the best in,
you're right.
in America. But is it lonely?
Yes, it is. Of course it is. Because the great thing about being in a band with Daniel was you had like a brother and someone to share the experience of being famous with.
Yeah.
I think as a solo artist, it's everything is always either your compliment or your fault.
Yeah.
So that can be, you know, you're hosting a show, Bert, you know about the pressures.
Yeah. Well, I think actually that's one of the reasons I like theatre, because as against television, in
It's an
theatre,
ensemble.
Yeah, the blame is shared.
Yes.
And I guess the same thing with a band.
Definitely. But there's also something really incredibly empowering, I think, about being the person who can conjure up everything, and it's a tremendous amount of responsibility, but it's wonderfully satisfying when what you're conceiving comes off and it comes off well.
Do you keep in contact with Daniel?
Yeah, we do. It's funny, I don't think anyone understands the relationship that we have, because even in the band, you wouldn't catch us hanging out after work. I mean, it was an incredibly... You know, it's not unlike the relationship I have with my own brother. I adore my brother, but he and I don't have a hell of a lot in common. And
is he out of jail yet?
Yes.
Yeah. It was her word against his, wasn't it, right
Exactly.
from the start? Yeah.
I can't even go there. It's a great joke, though.
Yeah.
But it's not unlike that. I really think Daniel's a genius. I do. And he has reinvented his life. I think it's very brave to walk away from something at the peak of your success and make a life choice like he did, and God bless him. You know, he
is
really
he
loves
working
his
at
life.
all? I mean, is he singing?
Yeah, he has a recording label and a studio called Meridian Music, and he's a very talented boy.
In doing the stuff over in America, you basically got back to basics, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tell us about that songwriting experience, because that's a pretty fair combination.
Well, you know, I recorded my last album literally in a bedroom, which is not as glamorous as it sounds. I mean, I literally did it at home because I didn't want a big producer or somebody telling me what to do. And it was a very intimate record. My last album was very confessional and not entirely commercial. Right. So I did most of that myself, really, with a producer at home who's a friend of mine, Robert Connolly.
And the single?
The single from the last record was Popular, about sleeping my way to the top. Is that the one? Yes. Yes, it was a bit of a take on Fame.
Look, but don't feel ashamed of doing an album in the bedroom. One of my most successful albums back in the old days.
I love this record.
The Bert and Paddy Family album.
You probably don't remember it because you're so famous, but you autographed one of these for me.
I know I did.
And it's one of my favourite pieces of memorabilia.
I want it back because now it's worth a lot of money. That was done in the bathroom.
Oh, Bert.
At Flinders Street Railway. So you got to get the second one. I think that might be.
Bert, it's
just turned out that might be the really raunchy. Oh no, I've got a much better raunchier.
Well, you've got a nice shirt on.
Oh no, just keep talking for a second. I'll find the other one.
Just have a look at the.
If you think that's funny, you'll go into hysterics in a moment. Someone's knocked it off. I tell you what, if I find them serving canapes from it again down in the boardroom, I'll go be furious. No, it's not there. Why would I have that? For whom the bell tolls. Yeah. Just finally, what about gigs? Do you enjoy doing those?
Very much so. I want to tour a lot next year. I'm working on a new album, but I have a desire to tour before the record comes out. Usually you tour to promote an album, and it's been too long since I've played in Australia. I only ever come and do promotional performances.
You're based in London now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am at the moment.
For what reason?
For what reason?
Music reasons or personal reasons?
Both, really. Fate always steps in. I never thought I'd leave Australia, and I ended up in San Francisco really through fate. I feel like the city just kind of chose me, and I spent 7 years there, and I've spent 2 years in London, and I'm loving it. I just kind of go where the wind blows, really.
Was Savage Garden big in England?
Everywhere, yeah, which is interesting. It's incredible because it gives me so many opportunities. Yes, we were.
States too, of course.
Yeah, we had a couple of #1s there. So,
right.
Yeah.
China? No, nothing there. Nothing.
Yeah, we actually, I think we do. Well, I don't know that anyone actually sells legitimate records in China, but we do. Apparently, lots of people own our records in China.
Is pirating still a problem?
Yeah, I think so. I'm one of the few recording artists who don't complain about it too much because I really feel like people love music more than ever, and sometimes with the internet and pirating, I think it's our way of saying to record companies, I don't know, we want you to get your act together a little bit. Yeah. In some ways, if people really love music, and we just have to find out ways to get it to them, because people are willing to pay for something they love.
Who's this through? Which record company?
Well, this is through Village Roadshow in Australia, which was the first ever record company I signed to, and back then was an independent record company.
And there's a DVD available too, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a version of this that comes with a collection of all my hairstyles.
Yes, okay.
In the 90s.
No hair gags, if you don't mind, Darren.
No, that's all right. I wasn't sure if my hair was too high today.
Oh, no, I love it.
I couldn't fit through one of your doorways, but apparently it's the fashion.
Just show the back too, because that's really exciting.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to have mine done like that.
But I think that would be a good look.
I'm going to send it to the hairdressers this afternoon and get it back at 5 o'clock. Darren, the great thing about catching up with yourself, I mean, obviously, I'm not the demographic necessarily that Savage Garden went for, but one of the biggest fans in me, and I thought it was always with yourself and Daniel. I want to say intelligent music for some reason, but it moved across the demographics, and I think that's a pretty hard thing to do unless it's really coming from the heart.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing to say. Thank you. But yes, I do. I don't think we ever sat down and thought, let's become successful. We just loved music and wanted to write great songs. So thank you.
Lovely talking to you.
It's great to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, Darren. Good on you. Would you like that, by the way? Just as a...
I would, actually.
Yeah, sure. That's terrific. Wait till he takes it home and finds it's Kamal inside. Darren Hayes. And look out for the album too. Your chance to relive some wonderful memories, but also hear some new gear here from this very talented young Australian musician and performer. Next up in the kitchen, Elizabeth Chong is going to...